Hey guys, how's it going? How's your morning? I had a really good workout and had a protein shake and I'm ready to go and had a shower. So I am really, really excited to tell you about this concept that I've kind of put together in my head. And I've really been thinking about this for maybe months and months, maybe a year, and kind of seeing, collecting, and testing out, improving how this works. And I finally put it all together and I'm going to tell you about it. And this will change your relationship with your son. So here's how this works. I named it past or future focused. And here's how I think about it. So as a mom, or let's just say we are a mom, right? So as a mom, our mind is always either in these two places. It's either in the past, our mind, right? Or it's in the future, okay? So even if we're in the present, right? We're always either thinking about what's coming up or we're thinking about what has happened, okay? And sometimes when we're lucky, when we work at it, when we are able to, we are in the present and we're enjoying the present, right? And we're actually are able to enjoy ourselves, enjoy the company we're in, and enjoy the nature, right? We're in the present and we're neither thinking about the future or the past, okay? So that's a good place to be, is the present, right? We all know about that, right? But as the mind does, it will think thoughts, and very often, it will either go back to the past or the future. And if you are listening to this podcast, you are having some sort of trouble with your son, right? And here's how I want for you to think about it. I want you to think, if you're having troubles with your relationship with your son, then the way you're thinking about the past or the future is probably not pretty, okay? And I'm going to talk about typically what us moms, what we have trouble with. And I saw this so many times in my own mind and my client's mind. And usually you can categorize it into a couple of categories because it's always the same. Because when we struggle, how we show up with our son, when we fight, when we withdraw, it's usually all about the same stories, okay? So I'll start with the past, then I'll talk about the future. And I'm going to talk about right now about what creates the struggle. What is the troublemaking thing that we think that has us not enjoy our relationship with our son, has us fighting with him, and ultimately have what we call a bad relationship. So as a mom, so often we create so much guilt. We feel so guilty over the past, whether it's the couple hours ago, whether it's 20 years ago. Our thoughts about the past can be something like this, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. Or maybe I did a bad job, or I wasn't there for him, or I missed it, or I was too mean, or I was not nice enough, whatever. So any of these thoughts like that are about the past, right? About how you showed up in the past, right? About what kind of job you did in the past. So you will feel guilty about something in the past, right? And then we usually can layer shame on top, right? Where it can make it mean something bad about us, like because I didn't show up, I wasn't there enough, I'm a bad mom, and now I have shame on top of that, which makes me feel even more stuck in feeling really bad about the past, okay? And then we feel stuck because we can't change the past. We can't go back and change how we acted before. We can't change, and because we can't do that, then we feel like we have no choice but to feel guilty and to feel shame over it. And so we keep thinking the same thoughts and the same feelings about our relationship with our son or about how we mothered him, and we feel super stuck. And so when we do that, okay, when we feel guilty, shame, stuck, when we think something went wrong in the past, we are usually unable to be in the present with our life right now and with our son right now, which is the biggest kind of downfall, right? Because we have a son right now, and that son's probably doing just fine, or he might be doing something, but we are not even able to pay attention to what he's doing when we are stuck in that mode in our mind. And we're it's almost like daydreaming, but I like to call it day horror dreaming because it's not pretty. It doesn't feel good. And we get sucked into it, and it's usually not even conscious, because if we've practiced it so many times, it's subconscious, but the feeling is there. If you feel shitty about yourself and you're kind of thinking in terms of you and your son, then it's probably one of those feelings that's under there, one of those thoughts that's subconscious, that's just operating under your consciousness and creating that feeling for you of just feeling really bad about your relationship, right? So you're feeling guilty, you're feeling shame, you're stuck, and all of these feelings are coming from your thoughts about your past. They're not coming from your past. This is very important. I'm going to say it again. All these feelings are coming from your thoughts that you're thinking right now about your past. These feelings of guilt and shame are not coming from your past. They're not coming from what you did before or what you didn't do before. They're coming from your mind in this moment when you're thinking about your past. Okay? So, now I want to talk to you about how do you show up with your son when you feel all these feelings, when your mind is stuck in the past and thinking something went wrong in the past. Well, just from seeing myself and seeing my clients, I'm usually not showing up in my best way, right? If I'm thinking these things, then I might shut down, right? I might just not even be present with my son because I'm in my mind playing my horror movie, feeling bad and trying to fix it, but I can't fix it in the past. So I'll go back to feeling bad, feeling shame. When we feel shame, we want to hide. So hence the shutdown. Don't take credit for all the good stuff that's going on right now because my mind is completely disregarding that information and only looking for what's information that's there to support that I did a bad job before. Okay? And if I'm feeling, some people might shut down, but some people might apologize a lot. Apologize so much that it's kind of nauseating and you yourself are super sick of apologizing. And apologizing doesn't make anyone feel better, and it's just nonstop. So shut down, withdraw, which is the other way of shutting down, but you don't talk to your son. You don't reach out. You don't call him. And what's sad is you don't initiate any sort of any talking or activity with your son that you otherwise would love to do, right? Like, for example, if you would love to have a family dinner and invite your son over for a family dinner night, you don't do that because you would think that he doesn't want to because you were such a terrible mom in the past, for example, right? You don't initiate that. And whatever actions you see him doing, you might attribute that to how you mothered him before. And that just goes back to support the fact that you were a bad mom, feeling shame, the fact that you did something wrong in the past, feeling guilty, and then again, feeling stuck because you can't change the past. So this paints a really good picture of what can be going on for you if your mind your mind right now is in the present, if your mind is thinking about the past in a not a useful way. Okay? So that's one way that we can sometimes focus our mind. And so often, really, if you're hearing this and you are not even sure that you do this, it's very subconscious, right? The only way sometimes you can see it is by feelings. Other people who are more aware of these kind of baggage from the past, then they might recognize it more as thoughts and feelings. So if it is subconscious, I want you to start noticing if you're feeling something bad about something that's related to your son. Then what is it? Are your thoughts going to the past and what you did wrong? Or maybe what he did wrong, right? But you can't change it. So this is kind of one category, is the past. And the other category is our mind usually goes to the future. And as a mom does, the best, kind of the most used thing that we do, the most common, is worry, right? Worry. Because if we don't manage our mind, if we don't tell our mind what to do, our mind is very easily worried. And especially as a mom, right? There's so many things in life that we can't worry about for our children. So if we are thinking about the future, we might be worried, like, what if something happens? I don't know if he will go to school. I don't know if he'll get married, right? I don't know. I hope he goes to school. I hope he gets a good job. All that creates anxiety and worry about his future, right? And this is, again, just a reminder, these feelings of worry are not coming from your son's future, because the future hasn't happened yet. They're coming always from your mind right now, in this moment. Whatever moment you're in and you're thinking about his future, that's when you're creating that right now with your mind, okay? You might be scared. And it kind of goes along and goes back and forth and blends in and feeds each other, the worry and the fear, right? You're scared that he might do drugs, he might get into the wrong crowd, might get in trouble, make mistakes. You're afraid he might die doing something dangerous and stupid, right? You might get hurt. So that creates fear, right? So worry, right? When we're thinking about the future and our son, if we don't feel well, then we're in either one of those categories where they're worried or scared or anxious. So when we do those things, when we're worried or scared, and the other one I wrote down is out of control. And you might feel out of control when you think about your son's future, because that's the truth. You have no control over his future. And then that will feed again the fear and the worry, because you feel powerless, right? And you can't change it. And when you tell yourself horror stories of the future, daydreaming about future horror stories, you have no control. You can't change the future, as it hasn't happened yet. But you can change your mind about it. You can change what stories and movies you play to yourself about the future, right? But right now I'm just kind of going through all the things that can happen to us when we are kind of careless about what we think about and we think about the son's future. So when you're feeling worried or scared or out of control about your son's future or your relationship together with your son in the future, how do you show up with your son when you feel all those things? And it's not pretty either, right? We might be super controlling in the moment, right? Over controlling, checking on them all the time, calling them constantly, asking them what they're doing, checking what they're doing on their laptop, checking their phone. What else? Complain. We can be complaining to our friends about that. We can be nagging our son to get off the phone or get off the laptop. lecturing them too much about, and unnecessary, right? You know when you do that. And lecturing from a scarce place, lecturing from a place where you don't feel good about the future, right? When you feel super scared and you're trying to manipulate the outcome of your son, what's going to happen in the future, by telling him all the things that could go wrong, telling him what not to do, telling him what to do, just being super over controlling, right? And also somehow treating him as a criminal. Basically, when we are worried about the future that he might do something wrong, well, what happens is we talk to him in a way that is as if he already has done something wrong, right? Because we have zero faith, zero trust in him in this moment. We don't trust that he's going to do the right thing. We don't trust that he's going to be smart enough to take care of himself. In fact, we think the opposite. If I don't step in and do something about this now, everything's going to go wrong. So hence I'm going to talk to him and tell him what to do, tell him not to do, and also tell him in a way that doesn't treat him well. It treats him like he's already done something wrong. So assuming the worst of your son, which is what we don't want to do, right? We love our boys so much. And afterwards, often we feel like that I didn't want to show up that way, right? And we might apologize, but ultimately we're thinking, that was not nice. He hasn't done anything bad yet, right? He's a good boy. I shouldn't kind of criticize him this much, right? And we might assume that he's lying. We might assume that he's hiding something and start interrogating him, right? And so notice how all of these actions, right, are coming from your feelings, and your feelings are generated in your mind, right? Are generated in your brain, and they don't come from the future. They don't come from anything outside that has happened yet, right? And they're always coming from your own head. Okay, so that is really, really, really good news, because I'm going to tell you now about all the good news and what's possible instead of all the horror movies of the past and horror movies of the future. I'm going to tell you about the what's possible if you're thinking about the past, what you could be feeling and doing instead. Wouldn't it be so amazing if instead of worrying and feeling guilty about the past, or feeling shame, or feeling stuck and not being present in the past, about the past, wouldn't it be so amazing to finally be free of all that's happened in the past and feel proud of the way you showed up before, of the way you parented your son, of the way you mothered him before, like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, this morning. Wouldn't it be so amazing to simply feel proud of how you mothered him and be free of ever thinking about all the stuff you did before? You could just sum up everything that you did before and say, everything happened exactly as it should have. I did my best. I did nothing wrong. And I'm proud of how I did it. I did a good job, right? Wouldn't it be so amazing to simply feel really, really good about how you showed up with your son in the past, right? That's available to you. And so some of the thoughts that you can believe and think instead about the past, I like what thoughts that are already mentioned, like everything happened is exactly as it should have happened. I did my best. I did nothing wrong. I did a great job. I'm a good mom. Yeah? You can think I'm a good mom and about your past. Did you know that? You can think that. Oh, that was the song too early. And You can be free when you believe all those things. You are no longer filling up your brain and your feelings with feelings of guilt and shame. You are now have all the space in your life to feel free to enjoy time with your son now, to live your life now, and to think and feel things about your life now that you didn't before. You can have time and space in your life to be free to dream about fun things you will do in the future with your son. In the future, like this weekend or in 5 years, right? Like, when you're not feeling terrible about all the things you've done in the past, all of a sudden you can think, oh, you know what? I'm going to take my son skiing. We're going to go for lunch. And I can't wait to meet his first girlfriend. I'm going to take them out to movie and dinner. Or we're going on a trip, like a ski trip. all my things with my son. For some reason, I want to go skiing. But you see what I mean? All of a sudden, your imagination now is being used and thinks about all the fun stuff you want to do with him, right? And even if your past is not perfect, and none of our pasts are perfect, none of us are perfect moms, right? None of us did it perfectly. A lot of us made mistakes. A lot of us didn't show up when we thought we should show up. And we still can choose to think that we did a good job, right? Because what we choose to think right now will create the feeling of that freedom, of that proud moment, right? And if we choose to be free right now, to feel really good about ourselves, then we'll be able to plan fun things, right? So even if we didn't show up as a perfect mom before, we can still allow ourselves to enjoy doing something really good with our son, right? So you could be feeling free. You're present, right? When you are no longer burdened by how terrible you did in the past, you are present in the moment with your son. You are able to see his face. You are able to listen to what he's saying, to hear all the funny stories he's telling you, to see how funny he is, to see his smile. And you can learn about him a lot, because before, when you were totally preoccupied with how bad of a job you did, in that moment when you were thinking that and he was talking to you, you did not hear what he was saying. You did not see his face. Right? And how do I know this? I've done this before. And I would catch myself and bring myself back to the moment and think, wow, my son is amazing. He is so cute. He's so innocent. He's so wonderful. His smile is so good. And I would experience him in a brand new way because I would be free from all the baggage, right? So you can feel joy, you can feel be grateful, right? You can be excited about the future. You're just happy and proud mom, right? And this, you can also think all that about your past instead of all the other baggage and past that you used to think, okay? That's available to you. And so I'm drawing you these two pictures of before and after, and I want you to know that that is possible for you. It is totally possible for you, and if you haven't been able to do this before, it's because you haven't had the tools to do that yet. And if it's possible for me, it's possible for you, and if it's possible for my clients, it is possible for you, and I want you to know that that's available to you today, right? You can slowly start to shift your focus from things you don't want to the things you want to think about, okay? And this is why I offer coaching, is because we need to learn these tools of how to manage our mind and how to not choose the story of a horror movie of the past, right? We need to learn how to do that, and then we need to practice it. And when we practice things and we learn how to do them, we will make mistakes, and we need to practice that a lot and have some help, right? And that's how I learned this. I didn't come up with it myself. I learned it from my coach and applied it and made mistakes and applied it again. And so now I love the results that I have. That's why I want to share it with you, so that you can also create that freedom for yourself of just being free, enjoying the moment with your son, and having so much fun with him. Okay, let's talk about the future. Okay, so we already talked about if your mind goes to the future and it plays you a horror movie about the future, then instead of that, what else is possible for you is to play a dreamy future, okay? And I'm not saying be unrealistic, but here's what I am saying. Instead of feeling worried and scared and out of control about your son's future, you can choose to feel trust, okay? It's almost kind of like a religious experience, religious faith that you have to feel, but it sounds more like trust, right? I don't know what will happen in the future, but I trust that everything will work out okay, right? And the truth is, like you and I, we have no idea what will happen in the future. Terrible things might happen in the future, but it does not mean that I need to think about them right now, right? In fact, if I think about them right now, right, I will create a terrible feeling for myself, and then I will create a super over-controlling, nagging mom for my son, which will create fighting, which will create a relationship with him that I don't want, right? So, even if terrible things are going to happen in the future, which we can't control, I can choose to think something that creates trust for myself, right? I am willing to be a mom of a son, and I trust that he will be smart enough around drugs. Okay? I am willing to raise 4 boys, right? That's me. And trust that they will be smart enough and have enough guidance and support, and the universe will take care of them through all the mistakes and the growing up and all the ages and all the troubles, okay? I can choose to believe that right now to create a feeling of trust for myself. Yeah, so do you see how different that feels in your body if you think that? And instead, I can imagine all the fun things and great things. Like, I'm curious what he will do with his life, right? I am excited to find out what kind of jobs he will do, what kind of things he will invent and create, and what kind of art he will make. I'm excited to meet his new first girlfriend, and I am looking forward to seeing him hang out with friends. And I am looking forward to seeing him go through sports and kind of explore all different areas in life, right? It really is a push for our brain to tell our brain, hey, brain, look for something good in the future. Because we as moms are so wired to protect them and guide them that we are just 100% wired to look for what's bad. What do we need to protect them from? But we need to rewire that because we need to feel good right now. If we want to show up in a loving, trusting way with our son, we need to tell our brain what to think right now. Okay, so we can't let our brain spin out of control and be scared and worried. That doesn't end well for us, right? So it is a hard step. And it is a practice that we need to keep choosing trust. Okay, keep choosing trust about the future. And also keep choosing to imagine wonderful things in the future for you and your son. right? And for me, that's why I keep imagining skiing, is because that's not too far of a stretch for me, because my boys and I already ski together. I love skiing. They love skiing. We love having lunch together. It's already fun. And I see us doing that in the future when they're grown-ups, when they're older, right? So I like to calm myself down and think, oh, that's totally likely to happen. We're totally going to do this. It's believable, right? I'm not going to tell myself a story that doesn't feel believable, right? You have to tell yourself a story that actually feels good and you believe and is something that is wonderful, right? So tell yourself that. And when you are free from all the fear and all the worry, by the way, all of the worry and the fear are totally optional. You can choose to never feel worried or scared ever again about his future. Okay, you can choose to never ever feel worried or scared about your son's future. Instead, you can choose to trust everything will be okay and look forward to all the cool stuff that will happen. And when you do that, when you practice doing that, practice choosing trust and excitement, then you will be free to, guess what? You'll be free to enjoy your son right now, which is our whole goal today, is to notice when we are in the horror movies, bring us out of the horror movies, choose to trust and choose to feel like a good mom. And then once we feel good about the past and the future, then we can be present with our son today, no matter what age he is. If he's 2, if he's 4, if he's 12, if he's 20, once we feel good about the past and the future, then we can come back and feel free to enjoy him, to notice what he's saying, to listen to him, to engage with him, to respond to him, and to respond to him not from a out of control, scared state, but from an abundant, fun, like life is good place. Like, oh yeah, that will totally be fun, and not to lecture him and not want to control him, right? That will be available to you once you are very good at and keep practicing getting out of the horror movies of your mind. Yeah. So the other sentence I wrote down here that is super helpful is, I am willing to let go of fear and worry and trust all will be okay. So helpful, because you might not be ready to let go of all the fear and the worry right now, but as you keep practicing it, you might get really good at doing that. You might get better and let go of it more and more each day. Whereas one day, like now, you might have fear and worry 95% of your mind occupying, right? But as you keep practicing, one day you'll find that then you're dropping to 90% of worry, then 70% of worry. One day you'll be 20% of worry. And then one day you'll notice that you're not worried at all and you're simply enjoying life with your son and you feel good and life is simply good and there's nothing to worry about. There's no struggle. Everything is so good and you're simply enjoying what's going on right now and you feel grateful, right? You feel joy, you feel happy, you are so grateful that you are able to enjoy this with your son, and you're so grateful that you did this work for yourself so that you can enjoy your son now before he's gone or before you're dead. So, and when we do all this work in ourselves to get rid of all the worry and fear, and we're trusting and we're excited and we're free, then how do we show up with our son? Well, we are a lot more trusting with him, right? We don't try to control him too much. We don't check on him as much. we might ask him like, hey, what are you doing? What homework are you doing? Or what's going on for you? But we're asking out of very different intention. We're genuinely interested because we trust him. We might ask him if he needs any help because we just want to help him, right? We don't do any nagging. We don't try to control him. We treat him as a good boy he is. We give him the benefit of the doubt. And of course, if he makes a mistake, which he will, then we do our parenting thing. Then we do the consequences. Then we will allow ourselves to feel upset and help him and all the things, right? But when we're simply living life with him and everything is fine, we are able to help him, guide him, and just create love and connection with him without tainting it with fear and anxiety and worry and guilt, right? We're simply there. We are a good mom, right? And we are more of a supportive source for him than nagging source, right? And all these actions, how we show up, will contribute to that good relationship that you want with him, right? Because nobody wants to be treated like a criminal, right? Everyone wants to be treated as their best self, right? So if we assume the best of our son, even though there's all these dangers out there, even though he's still growing, even though he makes mistakes, if we assume the best of him and treat him that way, then we are kind of slowly putting in the building blocks of having that good relationship with him now so that we can enjoy it for the future. Yeah. All right. So let's recap. The past future focus, our mind is always either in the past or the future, either conscious or subconscious. And if we are playing horror movies in our mind about the past or the future, then we show up in a not loving, not connecting way with our son, which creates a lot of tension, a lot of fights. We can always choose to create feelings of trust and excitement and a feeling of being proud of doing a good job as a mom about our past, right? So what's the feeling? The feeling is, I wrote down proud, but when you think about the past, instead of thinking you did a bad job, you can think, I did a good job, so you're proud. So you can always choose a different movie about your past and a different movie about the future, because both of those are always created in your mind right now. Okay. And if this is what I am here for, is to draw this picture for you, tell you about it, and you can start choosing a better movie for your mind right now. And if you get stuck and if you need any help with it, this is what I'm here for. This is what I use the coaching tools for, to help you get out of your own way in your brain and then choose what you want to choose and get rid of the worry, get rid of the guilt, and choose trust, choose that freedom, okay? And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. You can go to my website, www.coachingnatalia.com. Go to sign up for a free mini session. I'm happy to answer questions, or if you want to get started and create that good relationship with your son today, this is available to you. You can be completely free and start having fun with him today and not wait any longer, because time is precious. They're getting older. We don't want to lose any more time by sucking our own life by playing all these horror stories in our brain, right? I sometimes catch myself doing these and I think, holy crap, like my son's here, he's well and alive, and I'm totally missing out on this because I let my mind run wild with something, right? So I don't do that anymore. And you know what? This episode, I thought finally, I'm finally going to record this last Saturday when I was sitting in a camping chair and I was watching my little twins play football. And my oldest son was sitting beside me in a camping chair. And we simply sat there and he talked to me about stuff that he wants to talk about. And I noticed that I was not feeling like a bad mom about the past. And I also noticed that I was not worried about the future. I was able to just be with my son and enjoy having him there and feel so free and so light that I thought I need to tell you this, guys, because so many of us just steal all that joy by all the horror movies. Okay, so go on my website, sign up for a free session. And if you find this super helpful, please, please, please give me a review on whatever app you're on, and share with your friends if that's helpful. I hope it is. Otherwise, I will talk to you soon, guys. I love you. Bye.